Okay, so flashing. Again, my favorite shape, the rectangle. So, flashing, what are we trying to do?
Create or reducing atmosphere.
In a specific area of the kiln, we are going to try here to have zero, actually people like it, zero but flow. So neutral flow, zero flow, yes. I can be in pressure and have zero flow. Right?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
You can squeeze and you can have highly pressurized but no flow.
Exactly.
So we experience
So-
the screen feeder, right?
So the challenge, I mean, a lot of time, you know, people tell me, oh, when I flash, I drop my exhaust, I drop my overpressure, I drop my waste heat recovery, I drop everything. Zero pressure. Yeah, but after a while, I have a hard time to cool down my product after 10 cars of flashing, or, okay, right? And very unstable, very difficult to stabilize, etc. Yeah, because you create a system which is so weak. And when I said you, I mean, when people, when okay, I should okay, when he does that, you create a situation where you don't have anything solid to stabilize your kiln. So the approach we have for flashing is to say, okay, I'm going to have to make sure that here I have the least amount of air refreshing here. Because here I'm supplying the gas, and I don't want the oxygen to be here to burn the gas. I want to neutralize my oxygen real quick. But I still need to move the gas out progressively because I'm supplying that gas, so I need to remove it, right? And I need to remove it this way,
Yes.
not that way.
So as this kind of little anecdotal whatever to the plant, so before the shutdown, whatever, you would look at your kind of, yeah, I like the trend histories. So like if you're looking at the rapid cool and you got 8, 7, and 6, right? And you'd have your flashing point be this point in history, this point in history, and this point in history. Okay, you'd start with your push and you'd come here, right? And then it would way hockey stick up and then kind of come down, right? And then fly up, right? And then 8, would soak, and then you might get a little bit of a peak here, get a peak here, right here, like that. And then 7, would be kind of doing this deal. Okay, you push, just like that, right? Maybe more gradual.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And then 6 following suit. Well, the changes that we made basically made it so that, thank you, it now looks like this, right? And then it kind of slowly comes down, right? You make the push and it comes down. 8 will drop down here to like 60,000, right? During the flash, and then 7 will actually and then at that moment we spike, right? And then it'll go down, and you come up, and then we spike. So basically, that hey, we're no longer pulling, backdrafting into here, and the fuel is actually going down the tunnel and igniting into 7.
Okay.
And I've got a bit.
That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for.
Actually, I even had a bit written in the program to keep this from going crazy, to where as soon as this goes over temp, that everything's cut off, airflow and gas-wise, in the burner group once it goes over. While we're in.
Okay. We'll talk about the burners and stuff like that after that. Yeah. Okay. So let me first talk about how to balance the flow here. The temptation to have zero flow here is to decrease everything. The problem is the time you flash, if you push every 40 minutes and you flash for 5 minutes, it means that 35 minutes you are doing normal kiln operation, 5 minutes you are doing flashing operation. So when you flash, if you have everything here to the minimum, it means that during 5 minutes you are not doing any job on cooling the product. And after 5 cars, 10 cars, 20 cars, you are losing ground, right? When I flash with the kiln, the first exercise I do is I put my waste heat recovery system to the max. Let me to the maximum, and then I feed it with the maximum air I can put to equalize the pull from that fan. So basically, you now have this maybe at 70%, maybe. As long as I don't have anything escaping here, I'm fine. And I'm creating, during my 5-minute flash, a strong cooling area, which helps me for the next push. Plus, when you do that, the zero flow, the nearly zero flow you create here, you create it with something very strong, not something very weak, which means it's much more stable than, you punch and you remove everything.
A very strong curtain of airflow.
You make something, you actually create that area is going to have less tendency to right, left, right, left. The trick is how much can you handle with your waste heat to balance that. So it's totally opposite. You're going to say this guy is always on the if somebody say white, I'm going to say black, vice versa. But my approach is always, let's do the most we can do with the system on the back end with minimum push here. And then the exhaust is just pulling enough to release the smoke that accumulate. You don't want to pull that. You don't want to pull that you actually move everything forward. This is probably the one who is going to work not at the minimum, but probably lower than what you normally run, but just strong enough to pull the smoke. Now the next trick I'm going to talk about is when you have your stick burners, of course you're going to roll smokes. You are not going to pull it like crazy, but you are going to roll that smoke. You want that smoke, which is unburned gas, you want it to burn But in the kiln, you don't want it. You don't want it at the stack. First, your neighbors don't like that on their sheet ending on the drying outside. And this smoke is basically carbon that you didn't burn into you are throwing mayonnaise through the stack, and you definitively don't want it either into your dryer. But what you do is you force your stick burner without gas but with air, and basically you create torch here where the air and the gas get into contact and combust. Even though you are blowing air, you are actually creating a torch. But that contributes to burn the smoke, and actually you save energy when you flash, because you basically introduce energy during that period without excess air through the firing zone.
In theory, like going back to this, so like if we're flashing here in 8, and then we call that 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then you got the burner groups here that kind of stay on. If I was to go and write a bit in the PLC that says, hey, when I'm in that 2-minute and 30-second flash time, if I'm in that time frame, then I'll cycle, hey, cut off the fuel at 7, hey, cut off the fuel at 6, and you have it roll
and force the air
through.
And force the air.
Yeah.
And you would see your temperature actually maintaining or maybe going up, but then when you push, you just, for that period of time, you would actually retrieve that energy and retrieve it in the firing zone.
So like I guess on that fuel cutoff, so basically just let it cycle like it normally would, but just cut the fuel off, right? Because I've got ASCO valve. Fuel.
Actually, you would have to force it, because if you cycle it, what I don't like is it's going to create some sort of pulsing through the kiln.
Right, it's supposed to make have that pressure wave, right? So it just kind of.
So if I force the air during the flashing, it helps me stabilize my zero flow. I'd rather have 7, 6, 5, or maybe 7. You leave it alone. You just turn it off. But 6, 5, 4, just forcing air, so it's a constant flow. It's a constant condition. It's something which is not going to be on off, because the idea during the flashing is to minimize the thing which can actually move. So your rapid cooling during flashing should be stopped. Rapid cooling is off for sure, because I don't want that to actually go on and off and creating a quantity of air which is going to add up here. You don't want things to start cycling, moving. For me, flashing, this is off. The closest one probably off, so it doesn't play a mess with the flashing zone. And then the following zone, the flashing starts, the gas goes on. This just here to burn the gas, and constant air, because the input of gas is going to be consistent, and you want to burn it before it arrives in the preheat, because in the preheat it starts to be too cold for the gas to actually burn properly. So if you don't burn it in those stick lengths, it's a waste.
Okay. So basically I just need to add a bit that could say, hey, air only, air only, air only, and force open.
Forget
depending on what works. Yeah.
Force the regulation off, so it doesn't try to do a cycle. The more cycle, the more you create. The more you go away, then it won't interfere. But the closest you are to the flashing, you want to have something stable. Start your gas. And you always start your gas only when all your fans are in the position they are supposed to be. You
Right.
don't start the gas while everything is traveling, because then you start burning, getting excess heat, etc.
So right now we're seeing that most of our flashing burns up in 7 and 6.
Okay.
And then we do get some residual smoke after that. And so basically then, okay, we let 7 alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come on. 6,
Six.
and 5. And then
6, 5, 4. I mean, as far as you can
until
go,
it can-
as long as you see the smoke and you see a flame occurring, and it's funny when you do that because you see a flame happening at the burner. You know, if you I mean, you don't have sight holes, but when you have sight holes, you see the kind of a panache. You know, even though you blow the air, but you blow the air in a so concentrated atmosphere of carbon, that of unburned gas, that
Now-
just flare.
Yeah, and
that's a good way to retrieve that energy.
yep.
You know, and I don't recommend those to cycle at all. Just, and if 3 doesn't have to work, you don't let it work. That's it. You know, you have to determine how far you go.
Yeah, well, basically, I guess in my mind that if we're tanking a temperature, we're not seeing that flare, right?
Yeah.
And just leave the burner group on.
Yeah,
Yes.
set yourself up to where it's either 5 or 4 will be 5, but probably somewhere in either 4 or 3, you won't be going back much further than that, because at that point, it's probably going to burn off.
But with your exhaust, you want it just pull enough to keep the smoke moving a little
Voilà.
bit out of the exhaust.
Yes. You don't want to see the smoke flying through,
Yeah.
but you want to see the smoke moving forward. And
You want
the
to
other,
run our exhaust back anyways.
Not as much as we did before. Before we had it dropped in like the like 19% output. And I wish I had a low number to put with that. But right now, you know, the number that we're doing is like 30, 29, 30, 31, somewhere in there. I have to go look.
because you still have to pull from here your side burner, your top burner, you still have airflow to pull, so
Can't be cut.
it can't be cut too much, you know. Me, the guideline I have when I flash, there are 2 spots I'm looking for. I can have a bit of smoke on top of the kiln rolling backward slightly. That's just a good indication that, yeah, ideally I should have 0. You have a bit of rolling backward, okay? If I start seeing the gas here burning in the injection area, then I know I have too much. But if I see a bit of plume, what I call it a plume of gas, it's okay, slightly. If you start to see the gas actually going to the HT, it's wrong. I've seen it also when I do adjustments.
But it's wrong.
But it's wrong, yes, and you have to react. But
Unless you end up with some glazed brick.
huh?
You glaze your brick.
Well, again, it's more for the integrity of the dryer that you avoid it at as much as you can. The approach I'm showing you sounds weird, but it's a much more stable approach than what I call the weak flow approach. Well, it's not easy. It's just another way to look at it. And again, I know it works because for having done it on a lot of kiln. Your challenge also is with the train not very sealed,
Yes.
you know. That's always difficult, and that's where the undercar has to also be not pushing too much, and that's why I was telling you on the kiln I'm used to, we basically drop down the undercar, we make sure that we are not actually pressurizing as we would normally, because we don't want developing oxygen at the bottom of the car and burning. Actually, that's a great way of burning the skirts. Is
With oxygen.
just bring a bit of oxygen in flashing under your car on the side and ooh. And when you have a peephole at the end of the kiln, you actually watch that if you have the ball of fire at the bottom of the car, means you have too much air passing through. So just food for thought. Again, it's a principle, but the beauty of that is you don't lose your cooling hand because you actually keep cooling. You don't cool at the same spot, but you don't lose ground as you flash. You know, you don't lose your cooling hand.
And you add you add because you're taking that fuel.
You use that fuel here, and you use your cooling power on the back end of the kiln. So then the flashing doesn't become so detrimental to the operation of the kiln.
Now, you guys always would complain about during flashing, your burners would lose ground. Your burners always lose.
Not so much anymore.
You got that kind of under control.
Yeah,
Well, it was basically what he's got drawn there, but instead of, like you said, without these waste heat settings and maximizing your airflow and losing, he's talking about being afraid of losing cooling temperatures. Well, yeah, it might be getting too hot. Well, that's just because where you were flashing. We were the opposite of that, and we would start losing in the early part of the kiln because of where we were flashing.
Because you were moving too much forward.
And now because we're actually pulling it back down the tunnel and we're igniting it in 7 and 6, burning it off,
That helps.
we're really not having as much of an issue. Most of the issues we were having with grate and whatever is just, dumb stuff in burner group 1, control and reliability.
If it's balanced properly for the flashing, there is no reason to lose your temperature here. No reason, absolutely not.
At the time, we were losing all the temperatures, though, it was such a big issue, we were back there.
So you weren't getting the benefit of the gas.
We were sucking it all back to the ground.
Yeah, you were supplying a lot of energy and it's also good for boom.
It's good for what?
Boom.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, but a lot of stuff some people don't think about it, but don't smoke around a dryer where it's backdrafting. All right. Okay.
Very
Food for
good.
thought. Food for thought.